there. And I think this is where I'm supposed to go in there. Then here. All right. All right. Hello to Pixar in a Nutshell YTPs, Alex Flamer, and Eternal Blue 2022. Hey guys, RanterInShades here, exercise my first Amendment rights stream style. And back when I made the last shirt collection video I did in like mid-2020, like after the pandemic had started, I had mentioned something along the lines of wanting to sort of convert that into a live stream thing as a way to treat it more of like a vlog of sorts where I can interact with you guys and tell some stories and whatnot, and this is going to be my first try at doing that. Now that, as the title down there says, I went to my 100th concert last night. I started going to concerts back in June 2008. My first concert was Iron Maiden at the Xfinity Center in Mansfield, Massachusetts. And last night, the 100th show in question was Killswitch Engage, a band from Massachusetts. So, of course, that means a good bit to me. And yeah, this was a really, really intense show. And what really added to the coolness of that particular show was the fact that one of the opening bands on this tour was Light the Torch, Howard Jones's current band. So, of course, towards the end of the show, you know, Jesse, Leach, and Howard were on stage together. They both sang End of Heartache and The Signal Fire, and Howard was on stage without Jesse for Rosa Sharon. But just seeing them together, it was like, damn. And when they got to My Curse in their set, which is my favorite song of Killswitch's, when I basically screamed along, "This is my curse!" That's when it like really hit me. It's like, holy fuck, I've come really far in these adventures and whatnot. And it was just sort of really just letting loose all the energy associated with that. So, yeah. And the other band on this tour was August Burns Red, a band that I kind of have a tendency to sleep on a bit, but I've always recognized them as being like one of the purveyors of the 2000s metalcore sound, and their set was really intense as well. I loved their lead playing. But yeah, not a bad band to have be the 100th concert. And the shirt I got was this, with the Atonement tiger on it, and I'll have to take my flannel off for it. I don't know if this is on camera enough, but there's tour dates on the back. But a little story about how this became the 100th, and this is going to be a bit of a sad-ish story. I was originally planning on my 100th concert taking place on New Year's Eve. If you follow my Facebook page, or you were at, or if you were at the premiere of either of Best and Worst Songs videos, you saw that Official GATG was visiting over here for New Year's. This was my second time being in person with him since 2017. He was taking a vacation of sorts and whatnot. He made a big trip from Florida all the way up here. Me, him, and and my friend Space Metal Ferrari, who is one of my chat mods, and good buddy of mine. The three of us all went out to see Seven Spires on New Year's Eve. I didn't get a shirt there, unfortunately, but this was the best New Year's Eve I've ever had. Like, I've never been to a New Year's Eve concert before. This was also Seven Spire's record release show. They're a band that Stout actually knows personally and whatnot, so of course, you know, this would be something that he would make a trip for and whatnot. And it was my first time ever going to a power metal show. I've never actually been to a power metal show before. It was interesting, but yeah, I had a pretty enjoyable time there and whatnot. I was originally intending on that being my 100th concert, but what ended up happening was in early mid-December, I got COVID. And so 2 of the concerts I had plans to see in December, I had to basically be sick during. I had to skip out on one. Thankfully, the other one, which I'll get to later, ended up postponing to January, but either way, I wouldn't be ending the year with my 100th concert. So we had the one that postponed to January, and thus making Killswitch the 100th. And as disappointed as I am, as the New Year's Eve Seven Spires show wasn't the 100th, I'm pretty happy that Killswitch got to be the 100th, because I've always thought they were great. They're probably the most important band in metalcore. Even people that don't like metalcore will acknowledge the talents within Killswitch Engage and whatnot, so that should really be saying something. Shows I'm planning on going to this year, I'll get to that later. I remember you posted about Iron Maiden on Instagram. Yeah, I mentioned that in the Instagram post that I made. I'm only at 83 shows, and my first was in 2016. So, you've been to 83 shows in 16, 17, 18, 19, in 7 years. Jesus, you keep yourself busy. In Portland, Maine, I've never been to Maine for a concert. The furthest I've went for a concert, I've made a bunch of trips to New York and a couple to Connecticut, but never to Maine. My Curse was my first Killswitch Engage song. A friend from high school introduced me to the band in guitar class. The good thing is that you were vaccinated. At least you didn't get the worst of this monster called COVID. Yeah, I had what's known as a breakthrough infection. I didn't have the booster at the time, and how I got it, I suppose I'll work backwards a little bit, because I'm pretty sure I know what happened. So, one of the concerts that I did go to in December was... Let me get the shirt for this. Where are you? There you are. Belmont. If you do not know Belmont, do yourself a favor. They are an incredible, incredible pop-punk band with djent elements. And if that sounds enticing to you like it was for me when I was recommended them, then check them out. And this is the shirt I got there. We got that sexy chick riding a tiger and whatnot. What was that? But at this show, I actually got a selfie with the singer of one of the opening bands, a pop-punk band called In Her Own Words. And they made a great impression. If I made the Best First Impressions live video more recently, I would probably put them on it. Maybe. But, like, this was, like, early December, and, like, a few days after that show, I saw the band post on Instagram that someone on their team tested positive for COVID, and one of the guys in the band ended up being hospitalized. So I'm pretty sure I probably got it at that show. And yeah, that's basically how it was. I was able to recover in time to film Best and Worst songs. And of course, when Stout came up here, I was all better by then. But yeah, that was not the greatest of times. This is like the worst I had felt since I had pneumonia back in 2009. Yeah. Not all my shows were metal though, and they were big and small. Yep. I also used to play My Curse on Guitar Hero 3 Expert. Yep, it's on that. Yeah. So what should I talk about next? But that was one of the shows that I went to in December. What did you do to recover? Well, basically, here's how it went. So it started with feeling like I just had a cold, but there was one morning where I woke up with a fever that I basically slept off and felt a lot better after a shower. But then there would come a few consecutive days where I would be going to bed with and waking up with a high fever and whatnot. And so I got tested and it came positive. But by the time I got tested, I was already beginning to recover. Like, I wasn't having fevers anymore, but I was still feeling a need to throw up every time I tried to eat something. But that eventually, went away by like the start of the next week, I think it was. But yeah, I didn't like not being able to eat. I pretty much had an all liquid diet for a little while. But that's how it was. At least for your first triple digit concert, you had a great time, and when people are happy, I'm happy too. Thoughts on Benny the Butcher and Freddie Gibbs? I'm not sure who they are. The name Freddie Gibbs sounds familiar. I don't think I know who Benny the Butcher is. But anyway, going back. Next thing I got here, I didn't get this at a show. My first time going to Target since I moved here. My first time going over there, I picked this up. Little Smashing Pumpkins shirt with Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness on here, which is a great album. My favorite from Smashing Pumpkins was always Siamese Dream, but Melancholy is definitely a close second. I'm like, ooh, this actually looks like a cool design on the shirt, and it's actually a really comfy one. So that's a thing. About how long do you think you had COVID? This was like, hold on, I think I actually still have my log on here. So December 5th was when I first, started, feeling weird. So Sunday, December 5th, stomach. Monday the 6th, stomach, headache. Tuesday the 7th, headache, sore throat, bloody diarrhea, chills, fever. December 8th, fever in the morning, was gone by afternoon, slight headache, typical cold symptoms. And then I just wrote typical cold symptoms for the 9th and the 10th. 11th, fever before bed. The 12th, fever, 102.5, vomiting. Monday the 13th, fever, 100.6, sore throat, stuffy nose. Fever went down after Tylenol and 3-hour nap. Back pain in evening. Tried eating a snack to see if my stomach was hungry. Ended up throwing up. Tuesday the 14th, fever, 100.5, sore throat, stuffy/runny nose. Fever went down after Tylenol and nap. Tense feeling in neck/upper back. Threw up after eating crackers. Stomach was feeling very hungry. Wednesday the 15th, no fever. Slight cough, still feel a need to throw up even if nothing comes out. Eventually started feeling like a typical cold again. Thursday the 16th, no fever, threw up a little when I woke up. Nausea went away later. Was able to eat crackers without wanting to throw up. Cough still there. Temperature went to 98. Threw up before bed. Friday the 17th, no fever, slight cough. Started feeling like a cold by the late evening. Coughing mucus. Temperature went to 98. Tried throwing up and nothing came out. And then Saturday the 18th, no fever, not coughing a lot until bed. And that's all I kept note of during that time. So that's all I'm kind of wanting to talk about as far as that goes. I really didn't want to mention anything about this in either of the year-end videos because I just really didn't think it seemed appropriate. But yeah, that was a thing I had to deal with. Did I lose smell and taste? No. What do you think of August Burns Red and Light the Torch? I like them both. August Burns Red, I just kind of tend to be kind of in and out with. I tend to sleep on them a bit, but I do like them. And Light the Torch, I've been following a good bit ever since they changed their name from Devil You Know. Any videos coming up? I have a script for a really, really big and ambitious one all finished. I lost mine for nearly a whole month when I got at the end of January last year, well into March by the time I was over it. Geez, almost 2 weeks. Yeah, it was basically 2 weeks. This whole process went. Anyway, moving on. Another thing that I ordered, this I ordered online, and this would be my Dawkins shirt that I've worn, I think, in one stream on here already, with my favorite album of theirs, Under Lock and Key, on here. I basically ordered this on eBay after watching a Razor Fist video. I forget what it was about, because a lot of Razor Fist videos I tend to just have play in the background when I'm doing something else, since they're not the easiest for me to follow. But I remember seeing him wear that exact shirt, and I'm like, I want this. And so I just went on eBay and ordered it. And there's that. Did I mosh pit at the show? No, I don't mosh. Then we get to the first concert since the pandemic, and this would be Green Day at the Hella Mega Tour. And this was a shirt I got like outside of Fenway Park, where we got a little gray tie-dye with the Dookie cover on it, which is of course my favorite album of Green Day's. This was a great thing to come back with, because I felt like a lot of pent-up energy from the last year and a half was basically coming out through then, and it just felt amazing, especially when they got to playing Jesus of Suburbia. And I'm like, oh. And if you remember the What's Wrong With I did on Green Day, I had mentioned being kind of hesitant about wanting to see Green Day live ever since 2016, when Billy Joe Armstrong was, going on a bunch of Trump rants and whatnot. And I basically said the outcome of the 2020 election will basically indicate, it'll be the deciding factor as to whether I will see the Hella Mega Tour. And since Biden won the election, I'm like, okay, I guess I can do this now, because he'll be less likely to talk about Trump at all and whatnot. And the most we really got, as far as any, talkiness from Billy Joe, was towards the beginning when he was talking about how long it's been since, they could play shows and we could all come out and whatnot. And I'm like, you see, this is so much better than, going on these political rants, because this really isn't the time nor the place. And so, yeah. And another thing about the Hella Mega Tour, apparently this wasn't the case for all of the shows, but Fall Out Boy pulled out of the date I was going to, which I wasn't complaining about, because I'm not really a big Fall Out Boy fan. I like their first album, but I've never really cared for anything else they've done, maybe with a couple exceptions, but in particular, and I know this is a very unpopular opinion, I do not like Sugar We're Going Down. I've never really liked that song. But it was basically Weezer and Green Day, and the first opener, The Interrupters, which were not bad, kind of boring, but okay. But yeah, Weezer's set was pretty cool, full of a bunch of weirdness and whatnot, and Rivers playing a fucking Flying V. But yeah, that was a great, great comeback. Love the Melancholy shirt, thank you. My first show was Megadeth and Lamb of God on the Metal Tour of the year last September. First show back. Yeah. I didn't really feel a need to go to that show because I've seen Megadeth twice, I've seen Trivium twice, and Lamb of God, I'm unsure if I'm wanting to see ever since Chris Adler left the band, because that really disappointed me because he's one of my favorite drummers. It's ironic because Ivan Moody from Five Finger Death Punch is ranting about hating Biden. Good thing I saw them in 2013 before any of that could happen. But yeah. Then the next thing I went to was the Sad Summerfest. And what's kind of weird, though, is that the 2 shirts I got there were of bands that I didn't actually see there. The first... Fuck, dropped it. The first would be Grayscale. Probably the band I was most excited to see at this show. But the line to this show was huge. Like, it was rounding, like, multiple corners. That's how fucking huge this line was. I don't know if it was because of check-in procedure being slow or because it was just really this packed, but I heard Grayscale set from, like, outside, but I was really not happy about having to miss their set. But at least I could do is, you know, pick this up, and I've grown to really, really, really love this shirt with the butterfly and the blue. It feels very, very comfy. And I made up for this the other December show I went to before getting COVID was Grayscale went back on tour, and I decided to go see them on this tour to sort of make up for missing their set. They were mostly playing from their new album, Umbra. And it was a pretty alright time and whatnot. I'm still not particularly thrilled that I had to miss their set. What I was also not thrilled about was the fact that Story So Far had to pull out because it was, of course, related to COVID with them as well. And so, you know, I picked a shirt up for them just because, you know, I kind of like this design, you know, with all the butterflies. It makes me look like a real indie pop punker and whatnot. And of course, you know, I love that shit. The band that, actually, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. The 2 bands that I saw at Sad Summerfest, I didn't stay for the whole thing because I'm not a fan of the main, and I am not a huge fan of All Time Low. I like them, just not to the extent that I would want to see a full live set from them. I got in time to see Movement's set, and then the band that replaced Story So Far was actually 4 Year Strong, a band from over here in Worcester. So my first time going to the Palladium in Worcester, ever since I moved to Worcester County, of course, is a band from Worcester, so that meant a good bit to me as well. It was my second time seeing 4 Year Strong since I saw them open for Bayside in 2014. And they put on a good set, but after they finished, I decided to go home because I didn't really feel like staying for the rest. And when I posted about this on my Instagram, believe it or not, someone commented on it saying that they thought they saw me over there. You know, someone that's a fan of my stuff here, and I'm like, oh my god, holy fuck. I didn't really care for Lamb of God, but I really wanted to see Megadeth again and Trivium. Yeah. The 2 times I saw Megadeth were when they were co-headlining with Slayer in 2010 for the 20-year anniversary of Rust in Peace and Seasons in the Abyss, respectively. And then I saw them again a year later at Mayhem Fest. This was back when Chris Broderick and Sean Drover were in the band. Did you already get your booster shot but still got COVID? I didn't get my booster by the time of that. I didn't get my booster until the beginning of January. Have you seen these 3 before? Winger, Warrant, and Skid Row. I saw Winger in 2019. I saw Skid Row in 2015 during the brief time when they had Tony Harnell from TNT on vocals. Warrant, it's debatable if I would see Warrant. I know they got mostly their original lineup. It's really, really, really debatable. But I wouldn't be opposed to it. I'm witness to Shades' 100th concert. Yep. Space Metal was at the show, but he for whatever reason got tickets to the upper floor. He didn't get general admission like me. And you got back your hacked Instagram. Congratulations. Holy crap. Speaking of COVID, did you hear about how much of an idiot Kid Rock was by canceling his shows because of COVID mandates in his shows? Wait, he canceled his shows because of COVID mandates, or... Because I know Kid Rock is, like, very conservative and whatnot. I'd think someone like him would be like, nah, fuck that, I'm going to have my shows anyway, or something like that. But no. The most I've really heard about Kid Rock as of late was that Don't Tell Me How to Live My Life song and whatnot, which I wouldn't have a problem with the sentiment of. It's sort of like how I feel about Tom MacDonald. How I wouldn't have as much of a problem with the sentiment if he didn't victimize himself so much. Why don't I like the Maine? They're not terrible, but they're not amazing, though. I don't know. Just a bit poppy for my liking. But yeah. The next show that I went to after Sad Summerfest, a week later, and at the Palladium again. Well, this wasn't the band that was headlining. Seven Dust was the band that was headlining. Very respectable alt-metal band with a wonderful black vocalist with LaJean Witherspoon, who was great on stage. But opening for Seven Dust was Tremonti. And I figured, me being an Alter Bridge fan, tour dates on the back, me being an Alter Bridge fan, I felt like, you know what, I sort of need to see the things related to Alter Bridge. And this leads to one of the shows I have upcoming. The next concert that I have tickets for online, I'm seeing Slash in March. Of course, Miles Kennedy is the frontman in Slash's band, so... And of course, I would much rather see Slash solo than Guns N' Roses in 2022. So I'm like, hell yeah, let's do this. And so, Slash and Tremonti, it basically kind of completes the Alter Bridge trifecta and whatnot. I have no idea if I would ever come across an opportunity to see a solo set from Miles. I'm not sure how intrigued I would be by that. But, yeah, Tremonti put on a very good set. He's one of my favorite musicians, of course, and he's the reason why I love PRS so much. So, yeah, that was great, too. It did say GA on the ticket, but said I was addressed to the second floor. Yes, that's true. He canceled shows because of mandates offered by the venues. I guess good on him for listening. Do you keep your tickets when you buy them, and have you ever caught a set list? I don't think I've caught a set list. I managed to take pictures of a couple before. When I saw Van Halen in 2012, there was a guy walking around with the set list that he was letting people take pictures of. At the Grayscale show that I mentioned earlier, I saw it at the mixing board, and I took a picture of it there. And the only other time was when I got my autographed set list from Nonpoint. 6 concerts Shades and I have mutually attended. Cool. Yep, what Alex Flamer said. The organizers told him to enforce them, and since he's an idiot living in a fantasy world, he canceled them. He canceled the organizers? Or... I'm still not really clear what exactly is going on. My favorite comfort meal... I don't know. I guess goldfish would probably be a comfort food of mine, I guess. Next thing, another thing I ordered online, but it's from a band that I've spoken highly of a number of times on my channel. One of my friend's bands, Shakeout. And it says pedalboard punk on there, because that's what they are. My friend AJ's band, it was formerly a two-person band. It's now a one-person band, and very talented man that I always sing the praises of. Basically, every project he's had, I've always really enjoyed, and I ordered this from his website once I saw him share a blog post from it on Facebook, and I decided, since I really like that design, to pick it up. And later this month, he's actually coming through here on a little tour, so I'm gonna go out to that. I think he's playing in Somerville, I want to say, so of course I cannot drive there because parking is non-existent there. So that'll be cool to catch up with him, because last time I hung out with him was back in 2018. And Space Metal will remember, because originally at this time he and I had plans to see Avenged Sevenfold, but that show ended up canceling because of M Shadows having vocal problems. So I decided, you know what, since that fell through, I'm going to make a trip out to Attleboro to see my buddy. Yeah. He canceled the shows. Again, good on him for listening, I guess, because I feel like someone like him would have been the kind to be like, nah, this shit is fake news and whatnot. I'm going to put on the show anyway because you can't tell me what to do. Or something like that. Iron Maiden, Metallica, Ozzy, Seven Spires, Evanescence, Killswitch Engage. Getting a bit ahead of yourself there. If I don't make it to Slash, see you at Dragon Force, one of our anticipated ones for a hell of a long time. Yeah, Dragon Force, they were one of the bands I originally had plans to see in 2020 that postponed, then canceled, then rescheduled. And of course, you know, I picked up my ticket for that. They're playing in Worcester, and me and Space Metal are going to see that together. The Symphony X show that I also had plans to see in 2020 that postponed, canceled, and rescheduled. We're going to be doing that as well. How am I enjoying the new apartment/area? I love it. Love it so much over here. But yeah. Next concert that I went to, those of you that watched Worst Songs saw me wear this shirt, the A Day to Remember shirt, with tour dates on the back here. I made a trip over to Springfield for this one. The same Springfield the Simpsons are from? Who knows? But it was a pretty crazy trip. I remember there being a really long line to get into parking. And they're playing at this carnival, and there was already a large number of attendants there. And I remember going on a pretty big walk trying to navigate through there to find the stage they were playing at. And I ended up finding the place by the time Askin Alexandria, one of the band's opening, finished their set, which I was like, okay, I'm not complaining because I don't really care for Askin Alexandria. And this is like the third time that Askin Alexandria has been at a show that I went to that I missed their set. The first time being at Mayhem Fest in 2014 when I skipped their set to get food. The second time being when they were opening for Bullet for My Valentine in 2016 when I skipped their set to get merch. And now the third time here where I missed their set trying to find the stage. And it's like, okay. This was a pretty fun show. I do wish they didn't play as much from the new album, of course, because I, like most people, was not particularly moved by their newest album. It's one of those albums that I think would have been better received had it been made by another band, because you don't listen to A Day to Remember for like pop rock. You listen to them for metalcore tinged pop punk, and you don't really get a lot of that on You're Welcome. They played more from that album than I would have wanted to, but I still think they put on a very enjoyable set, especially when they got to Mr. Highway. So, they've been at the top of my bucket list for years now, and it was good to finally take them off. I remember getting out of that show was also kind of crazy. I took a wrong turn out of that carnival and ended up walking around the entire perimeter trying to find the entrance because I parked close to the entrance. But yeah, pretty hectic show, and then my birthday was a few days after that. Interesting how you guys are seeing Dragon Force later when I saw ZB Third with Skid Row last week. Oh yeah, because he's fronting Skid Row. Yeah. Battle Beast, Seven Spires, Visions of Atlantis, they're on the bill for Dragon Force, and it'll be our second time seeing Seven Spires. And Battle Beast I'm very much looking forward to there. Pronounce Worcestershire sauce. Now we see his legacy band. I was never a big August Burns Red fan, but when I saw them, they were actually not too shabby at all. They're very fringe for metalcore. Again, their lead player, he really knows, he can really shred. What's my take on Battle Beast's new album, Circus of Doom? It was good. Currently, where's my ranking? 2022 albums. It is currently my number 2, 3, 4, 5. It is currently my number 7 so far for 2022, which might not be saying a lot considering I only have 11 entries in here, but I'm still very much positive on the album. Next thing in here was actually a gift. A gift from my friend Chelsea, who's one of the chat mods on my channel. She told me she wanted to send me an old shirt that she had, and wanted to know my address. And of course, I can't really say no, considering it's Foo Fighters. A very vintage-looking shirt, and a very comfortable one at that. I very much like this one a lot. And since we praise Jesus in this household, again, I could not say no there. My other Foo Fighters shirt was getting kind of tight anyway, and while I like the vintage kind of appeal of that one is just a lot more comfortable. So that's that. And then the last shirt I have in here, it was mentioned earlier in the chat, but the show that I was originally intending on seeing in December that was postponed to January was Evanescence. Another band that I wasn't really the craziest about their new album. I know a lot of people had problems with the mixing on the album. I only really had that problem with maybe 3 or 4 of the tracks. I thought the album was okay otherwise, but definitely their weakest. But yeah, this was a very quality show. I like the red on here. There's tour dates on the back. Except the date is wrong because the Boston or Worcester date was not on the December 18th. It was on January 20th. So that is a misprint, but hey. And that's another show that me and Space Metal both attended together, though we weren't really seated together, because this was an arena show. Hailstorm was opening on this, and I thought that was pretty neat. Like, the two biggest female-fronted metal bands on tour together. That's kind of a term I don't really like using, because I sort of feel like it implies that there's this profound importance or this profound, like, exceptionalness of a band being fronted by a female, when I feel like that sort of defeats the purpose of saying that men and women are equal. So I've been trying to phase the term female fronted out of my vocabulary, but still, Evanescence and Hailstorm, really good package right there. They both put on some very good sets. And then after that was the Killswitch Show. Are there any modern, younger thrash metal bands you like? Let me go through this. Let me go through my thrash metal ones. The ones that I like from the 2000s to the present. Active Defiance. Angelus Apatrida. Battlecross. Bonded by Blood I like a little. Butcher Babies I have in here. Then Evil, Gamma Bomb, Havoc would be my favorite, of course. Hemlock is a little more modern. Then Ice Giant, they're pretty local around here. Killer Be Killed. Lazarus AD. Lich King I have a soft spot for. Mobile Death Camp, Municipal Waste. Don't think that would count. Power Trip, rest in peace. Railgun, when Red Lamb was a thing. Revocation I like a little. Savage Messiah, got into kind of recently. Then Speed Kill Hate. Then I'm not sure if Vector is going to be a thing anymore, but I like what they put out. Violator, there's another. And Forearm. Those would be my favorite, like, 2000s and onward thrash metal bands. What kinds of places and activities does Worcester have to offer that you enjoy? Well, the main reason I wanted to move out here is because I associate Worcester County as kind of having the best music scene in Massachusetts. And I figured it would be a good place to be to try to meet some people to get something going, potentially. I'm sort of wanting to wait for things to kind of lighten up as far as COVID goes before I really do much in that regard, but that is one of the intentions. Doesn't quite touch Dark Connection, but I do certainly love it, referring to the Battle Beast one. I gave that exact same shirt to my cats to sleep on since I outgrew it and did not want to throw out any shirts owned by Jesus. Not really so much owned by Jesus, but depicting Jesus, or at the very least endorsed by Jesus. Also, one crazy moment of your state's history I imagine Atticus covering for DHM along with you is the Boston Tea Party disaster, the molasses disaster. Maybe. I do sort of want him to... I kind of want him to do more videos akin to the To Catch a Predator one, because that's my favorite video he's done for that series. I enjoy the shit out of that one. So far, 2022 could not have been any more 2000s concert-wise for us, Evanescence and Killswitch Engage. The Rock Show would have been awesome for Hailstorm set. What did you think of Havoc's V from 2020? The most recent stuff, yeah. I pretty much enjoy everything that Havoc does. I didn't like their newest album as much as Conformicide, but it was still pretty awesome. If you tape a furry's mouth shut under their fursuit and take them to the vet, can you have them put down without going to jail? God damn it. Knife is an underrated thrasher of the 2020s. Battle Beast, nah. Beast in Black, lol. Ah. Just popping in. Hiya. Hello, Disco Duck Gandalf. Hair Metal Brony has all of Beast in Black's discography thanks to me. Good on ya. Do you have a favorite Revocation album? Let me think about that. I would probably give my favorite from them, I'd probably say it's Deathless from 2014. Because that was sort of the album that got me to kind of start paying a little more attention to them. I'm probably the one person that doesn't cross between Beast in Black and Battle Beast, confusingly. What is your opinion on the disco riots of 1979? Don't really have one. Uh-oh. Stupid spam. Revocation is the ultimate reason why I have Cannibal Corpse listed on my concert contemplations. Oh yeah, the upcoming stuff. Let me go to this note. I mentioned Slash, I mentioned Dragon Force, I mentioned Symphony X. Of course, there's also the Rage Against the Machine and My Chemical Romance reunion tours that my privileged ass is going to, that got postponed twice, and hopefully not for a third time, please. And then another show that I was supposed to go to last year, but it got postponed to this year, was Architects, who have Polyphia and Loathe on tour with them. And that's going to be for this year as well. So, yeah. It's mostly shit that was either postponed or rescheduled that I have next in line. The only exception to that being the Slash show. And there are a couple others that I'm considering that I'm not going to say for certain right now. I could potentially be seeing Knuckle Puck literally the day after the Slash show, depending on if I want to be a madman and have 2 consecutive concerts in a row, which I've never done before. I might make up for Story So Far not being at Sad Summerfest by seeing them, and they have Joyce Manor and Microwave on tour with them, and I'm like, okay, I see ya. Motion City Soundtrack is another one that I'm thinking of because I know they're a band that recently announced their retirement a few years ago, and I figured, if that's still intact and this is just a short reunion and whatnot, might as well try to get in on that before I can't. And the last thing that's in the maybe for me right now at this point in time may come as a surprise, considering I don't really like seeing bands that don't really have most of their classic lineup with them, but Wasp I'm considering. It's actually somewhat tempting, but we will see. Um, Indeed, he let me burn From Hell with Love and Dark Connection onto my iTunes library when he was visiting back in November. I don't respect gangster rappers unless they've done more prison time than Martha Stewart. Okay. I love Revocation. They have a new album coming in 2022, and I'm super excited. Oh, really? Let me look at this. Because I don't think I made note of this. No, I'm not seeing anything for 2022 listed on Wikipedia. Hopefully it's just brand new news and it'll just be updated later. Now to get all my Battle Beast CDs with myself when I go back in the autumn. Do you remember when someone threw a bottle at Sebastian Bach during one of his concerts where he went ballistic? I think I heard a story about that. I had Berserker for 2 years at that point. If you want more out of Anton Kabanen's guitar work, Wisdom's 2 latest albums will do it. Wasp is something that has given me a lot of tension since Armored Saint is opening for them. Yes. 2 of, in my opinion, the most underrated 80s metal bands. So, yeah, very tempting, and it's been quite a while since I've been to, like, an 80s metal show. I think the last one might have been the Aussie show. How pumped are you for Megadeth's new album coming this year, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead? I don't really listen to a lot of newer Megadeth. I'm sort of in and out with them a little bit, but the new stuff I don't really pay the most attention to. I tend to not really listen to much from them after Euthanasia. Blackie Lawless says he will replay a lot of old-ass songs for old time's sake. And I think you had mentioned something like he may even actually play Animal Fuck Like a Beast, which is like something he's kind of sworn off of doing. And if he actually does that, I'm going to be like, oh my god, yes please. The song that got Tipper Gore's panties in a twist. I do hope the best for Chris Holmes, given the latest unfortunate news. Yeah, I've known he's been on kind of a health decline for the last few years. When does Megadeth's new album release? I'm not sure. I just know that it's being made. Dude, I was so into Wasp back in 2016. Besides Wild Child and I Want to Be Somebody, I love the entirety of the Crimson Idol. The short film accompanying the album made me bawl my eyes out. Crimson Idol is such a great concept album. Last Command, I would say, is my favorite from Wasp. Headless Children is a close second, which Headless Children I have on vinyl. But yeah, I Want to Be Somebody is what got me into them, and Wild Child was like the next thing I listened to after that. Those are the ones everybody loves, but yeah. Then I started going into the full albums because they made a very good impression on me. Your opinion on Joe Rogan and the controversy regarding how his podcast spreads misinfo to where singers are dropping off from the music platform. I have very mixed thoughts on this. For one, you should know I'm not really someone that listens to a lot of Joe Rogan. I don't dislike him. In fact, I've always respected how he's somebody that has like a multitude of different guests on from multiple different backgrounds, and they talk about multiple different subjects. I always respected that about him, and how he's willing to give, you know, everyone a platform, even if he himself doesn't agree with them. He'll sometimes even chime in to kind of spitball back with them and whatnot. I always respected that about him. As far as the COVID misinfo and whatnot, I do think that is something that he should be held accountable for, but I don't think it should be to the extent of advocating for him to be deplatformed and whatnot, because that's the main problem I had with Neil Young, is that he was basically, you know, saying either he goes or I go. And it's like, I doubt it's really going to be much of a loss, especially because this is like the second time, I think, that Neil Young has taken his music off of Spotify. The first time was because of, you know, the unfair pay rate that basically everybody dislikes about Spotify. And that's one of the only things that I agree with Taylor Swift on, was that. But I guess somewhere along the way he realized that Spotify is kind of, and I don't really think it's going to really do much in the grand scheme of things, because, like I said, I think most people today understand that Spotify is somewhat of a necessity, and how bands and artists are able to make a living outside of touring, merch sales, and anything just outside of the music itself and whatnot. And that's a problem I have with Spotify personally. It's why back when there was the Music Modernization Act that Trump signed back in I forget if it was 2018 or 2019, but I was like, yes, this could potentially be taking things in the right direction. Because if Spotify is to be the main mode of consuming of music, then I think there should be more of a benefit for artists and whatnot. And I say this also as somebody that is wanting to go into that field myself, of course. You know, I don't want to be setting myself up for, you know, being like barely above the poverty line and whatnot. But I think I kind of veered off to just talking about Spotify in general and whatnot. Again, as far as Joe Rogan goes, do I think he should be held accountable? Yes. Do I think he should be deplatformed for it? No. And I also, another thing that's sort of why I feel this way is because for years I felt most people really blow Joe Rogan out of proportion, and I don't want to be one of those people. Now let me catch up. I think it's supposed to come out sometime this spring. Megadeth's new album, Headless Children equals underrated. That album's awesome. The Real Me and Scream Until You Like It are kick-ass covers. Same with I Don't Need No Doctor. Yeah, their cover of I Don't Need No Doctor and Easy Living, both on Inside the Electric Circus. That's an album I sort of feel gets a bit of a bad rep. It tends to get kind of slighted a lot. I think it's an enjoyable album. Oh crap, I've been under the rock about Chris Holmes, so what happened? I know he's in very not good health conditions. I Want to Be Somebody and Love Machine, one of my first Wasp songs. Same here, but add in Wild Child and Blinded Texas. So much for Keep On Rockin' in the Free World. The stream was skipping. Hopefully it's better now. Whenever I eat at restaurants, I don't put the napkin in my lap. People need to get their shit together. This is really random. If Wasp can replay old songs for us, I can only dream of Don and George burying the hatchet for the sake of their legacy. That would be cool to see too. Hopefully it can be more than what they did in 2016. But until then, the End Machine would be a band I'd certainly be open to seeing. Already, I appreciate your stance on Joe Rogan's Spotify situation. More respect for you, man. Thank you. To me, I know that Joe Rogan wants to push the envelope, but he has to understand the dangers of having crazies spreading dangerous misinfo regarding COVID. The most I really see it as is him trying to listen to all sides and whatnot. And that's always been the thing that I appreciated about his show. But yeah, I do think that he should be more responsible and tactful about, what gets said and where he himself stands on these things. Separate the art from the artist, indeed. Birdman is worth like $300 million, and he has the vocabulary of a cherry tomato. Why did my parents make me go to college? What the fuck is going on? Until then, I'm more moved by a tour from TNN. The End Machine is basically what TNN turned into. TNN, which stands for Tooth and Nail, it was basically George Lynch, Jeff Pilson, and Mick Brown reuniting with different vocalists, and they did that one album. They did some Dokken, I guess, reimaginings. I'm not sure if I want to call it covering when they're covering themselves on that album. The End Machine is basically what TNN turned into. It's George, Jeff, and Mick with Robert Mason on vocals, who's best known for being the current frontman in Warrant. Magic Inside the Moon is basically in Narnia right now. Yeah, like, I don't know if this is just someone saying random shit just to say random shit, or if it's one of those, being like, ha ha, look at me, I'm so random, guys, aren't I hilarious? Like one of those kinds of people that I don't really have the most patience for, because I've known some people that are known for acting like that I really did not enjoy being around. Speaking of controversy, did you hear how The Masked Singer had Rudy Giuliani as a contestant? And to their disgust, judges Ken Jeong and Robin Thicke stormed off. Like, were they just being like, holy fuck, Rudy Giuliani? Ew. Like, was it like something along those lines? Because if that's the case, then, I guess that's an interesting reaction. I do know of The Masked Singer. I don't think I've watched anything from it, though. But I do know that they tend to have some very interesting guests on that show, especially people that aren't exactly known for being singers, such being the case with Giuliani right there. But yeah. Shut up, Space Metal. Yeah, Robin and Ken really got disgusted at seeing Rudy Giuliani as a contestant since he was basically Trump's butt buddy. The most positive I can really say about Giuliani is one, that his name's Rhodey, and two, that there was the episode of Seinfeld about the non-fat yogurt where the shit gets mixed in with his blood sample. That's like the most positive thoughts I really have about him. Found out that the Arab Spring was not a music festival recently. Jesus Christ. Space Metal, I swear to God. You and your stupid play on words. Hey Ranter, love your latest work, bro. You really stepped your game up. Thank you. Appreciate that. The video that I'm working on next, that I pretty much have the script all finished with, it's going to be even more ambitious and really going even further out with that sort of, commentary, essayist, editing style that I've been trying to do a lot more of. I've really taken a really strong liking to that kind of editing, and I get really excited when I get to do more of that. Speaking of disgust, am I the only one who thinks that Matt Walsh is worse than Ben Shapiro, as he doesn't even try to hide his bigotry and machismo, even spreading his trash to kids? That definitely sounds worse than Shapiro, because Shapiro is at least a funny meme. I'm not sure we can say that about Matt Walsh. The most I really know Matt Walsh for is, I remember in my Muse video when I played a clip from Chris Reagan to show that he is willing to criticize right-wingers. He showed an article written by Matt Walsh. That's where I know the name from. I actually rewatched that video recently because I make reference to that video in the thing I'm working on, and I was actually shocked at how well that video has aged for the most part. I need to talk to a friend of yours named... That's from The Simpsons. He's a shoo-in for Scumbag of the Decade. Of course they would do that. Giuliani is a close friend and ally of Trump because in their eyes, anyone who's on the side of the orange man is a scumbag. Yeah. Maybe your standards are too high. Yeah. I actually did a big Simpsons binge throughout, like, all of November and December. That was fun. As someone who watched Robin Hood, I imagine Donald Trump being an immature brat like Prince John and Mike Pence as Sir Hiss, to where Trump beats up Pence. I haven't actually seen Robin Hood. I really should at some point. All I know about it is that it's a movie about two foxes and a lion that wears a crown. I remember reading your Facebook post about it. Yep, I did. Since Giuliani was mentioned, I'm sad for New York City. They need another good mayor like Giuliani to bring them out of the dumps. Yeah, I don't really hear the greatest of things about Cuomo. Which every time I think of the current New York City mayor, I keep thinking that Rivers Cuomo is the mayor there, and I'm like, wouldn't that be awesome to have Rivers Cuomo as your mayor? Have you heard of this new artist, Lou Zassel? No, I have not. There was also another Robin Hood movie made in '91. I also remember how when the new My Little Pony movie for Netflix came out, right-wingers went nuts as they thought the villain was a copy of Trump, and it made me laugh. I don't know what it is about Trump that brings out the worst in literally everyone. You got people on the left that overreact to him, and people on the right that get really offended whenever it looks like something might be a representation of him that depicts him in a not good light. And it's like, I mean, it's one thing to be a supporter of a politician, but when you're being this much of a simp for them, I think you got problems. Wait, that was actually a thing? I guess it was. Giuliani was a pretty bad mayor. He was just there when 9/11 happened, so that makes him an expert on terrorism. Oh my god. That mention of Rivers Cuomo being mayor, I'm just now realizing that would be a lot like fucking Adam West being mayor on Family Guy. That would be incredible. Then they shouldn't be watching South Park or Family Guy if they're this thin-skinned about it. Yeah. Especially because shows like that are known for really, picking apart lots of different kinds of perspectives and things on it and whatnot. But back to Matt Walsh. When he read his clearly transphobic book to young, impressionable kids who are too young to comprehend LGBTQ+, that's when he became scum to my eyes. Yeah. Like, I don't know how young those kids were, but yeah. I do think that LGBT should be at least, I think kids should at least be aware of them when they're a little bit older. Just saying, hey, these are people just like you and me that exist. But not really in a way that is really pushing any kind of agenda either way. That's basically my view on that. Hey, Kaz, how you doing? By the way, anybody, actually no, screw the anybody. Y'all should definitely support my friend Kaz Warfox here, because he's been dealing with some very insecure people with, to put it nicely, very questionable beliefs, going out of their way to try to sabotage his channel and flag it down, especially when one of them was dumb enough to reveal his own skeletons in his closet, and now they just are trying to get rid of it and act like it never existed. Please support my buddy here, because he could really use your support, because his channel got a strike from the shit. And it's kind of insane how people like this just don't understand the Streisand effect. South Park, Family Guy, Simpsons, death metal, all sources of media that are a place for the offensive. Trey Williams of Dying Fetus once said, "If something bothers you, why are you here?" Yeah, like, it's kind of a part of life being exposed to things that might make you feel uncomfortable. I think it's impossible to go through life not feeling any kind of discomfort whatsoever. So the best thing you can really do is try to bulk through these things as they come, and through doing that, you'll become a much stronger person. I swear, if the culprit is who I think it is, I doubt it's anybody you've heard of, space metal, but it's as bad, I would say. I also thought Atticus the Death Metaler's name was a pseudonym, as his name is really rare, so it's pretty cool he has a cool name. Yeah, it is a pretty swell name. Is it the same person that, let's say, has a vendetta against one of our Aussie friends? No, it's a different person. It's actually a culmination of a few people, actually, that Kaz has gone after. Basically just being like, no, get away, get him away, get him away, get him away. And again, just not understanding that trying to suppress the shit will only draw more attention to it. As well as, you know, give Kaz more of an impetus to make more of an effort to make sure that the information stays out there. Can you do an impression of Atticus the Death Metaler? Sure. Hey everybody, this is Atticus the Death Metaler, and I'm here once again onto this video to talk about onto this thing. Hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel. Links are on the description below. Keep it metal. Have a wonderful and safe day. Prost. Sub to Kaz, cool. Because, yeah, he talks about some real shit. Some real, sketchy people. And he's got a good thing going with those streams. He's really been getting a good bit of subs lately. And hats off to you, my good man. My neck is still kind of sore from last night. Because holy fuck. That really wore me out. I gotta watch Atticus's 21 video and Identity Politics video soon. Yeah. Those are good. People compared Sprout from MLP, A New Generation, to Trump. Never would have thought of that. All I've thought of him is that he looked like Josh Scorcher's OC, Commander Firebird. More spam bullshit. Beh, beh, beh. Also, whatever happened to Cammy Bams? As I remember, everybody respected him until everyone hated him and then disappeared. I'm actually going to read a long essay I wrote about him in Take Shot Actions Discord when someone was asking about him. So let me go find this. So, here's the story of Cammy Bams. He was someone that was heavily promoted by the Archfiend, and he used to be among the most prominent and talented people at the time. He actually became friendly with the Troll Posse after a while, and was basically neutral about the UTF stuff, because the person asking mentioned, you know, his appearance in the Troll Posse videos and whatnot. What got his channel terminated was a mix of two things. He was making a series of videos on a community of kids known for making fan-made, pitched-up music videos that were very edit-heavy and had lots of flashing lights with no warning. One person from that group that tried inciting his fans to flag Cameron's video on him was a guy named That's So Jack. He's largely considered to be the main culprit behind why his original account got terminated, but back when he wasn't cool with the Troll Posse, Chicken Doodle Sauce was using his many sock accounts to mass flag him in a very timely fashion. So those two things combined led to his channel getting terminated in 2012. In 2013, he started going in a more political direction. He made videos explaining his worldview as an anarchist. At the time, I didn't really think much of it because I wasn't really a political guy. I found the videos kind of boring, but I stayed subscribed because Cameron was a prominent figure in the community and I wanted to honor that. But eventually, his anarchist ideology led him to becoming a feminist. Initially, I thought he would be one of those reasonable feminists, but then came his video on Nate Talks to You that made me unsubscribe from him. He essentially portrayed Nate as someone who doesn't care about the issues he talks about and only cares about views and likes, but you'd think given that they were friends, he'd know better. Fuck, I had only known Nate for a little over a year at that time, and yet I think I know him better. Along with that, he made a bunch of dumb arguments like saying that dictionary definitions are invalid because language is a man-made concept. Some consider it to be a fallacy, but I don't because it's self-refuting. He was going out of his way to paint Nate as a disingenuous scumbag, and this was probably the angriest I had gotten at a video, and I haven't looked back since. That was basically the moment he really lost a lot of people, and hardly anyone else in the community wanted much to do with him going forward. There was also one time after the Paris attacks in 2015 where he made a post saying, "White victims, outpouring of solidarity and support. Black victims, meh." Making the thing into a race issue when there was absolutely no need for that. And that was when everyone collectively said, yeah, fuck Cammy Bams. He used to be a real talent, but I really hate what became of him. Forgot to mention, when people took issue with his turn to feminism, he was all like, "Kiss my arse, let me drink your tears," basically spitting in his fans' faces, and I really hate when people do that. So, that's the story of Cammy Bams. Used to be a fan, used to think he made really good stuff, and now all I have are memories when he used to have a more entertaining presence and a more reasonable head on his shoulders. But yeah, that video he did on Nate really, really pissed me off. Watch me piss off Shades. Why can't Flock of Seagulls tour in Middle East? Because you stole that joke from me. You stole that joke from me. Go back to the Fire Nation. So basically, I guess the fame and attention eventually turned him into someone narcissistic, stubborn, ignorant, ruthless, selfish, and stupid. I'm not really sure if it's so much the fame, but more so him just being kind of too driven by the ideology, and that led him to just becoming kind of antagonistic to people. I more so attribute it to that. The whole Cammy and Bams thing, didn't know who this guy was, but man, this sounds to me like an example of what radicalism does to people. Yes. Yeah. I've seen that happen a lot when people go really far down political rabbit holes, and that's a big reason why I have been trying to be a little less political as of late, because I don't want to turn into that. Beauty and the Battle Beast in Black. Yes. Now I just want the two bands to do a cover of Beauty and the Beast, Tale as Old as Time, together, just for the sake of that meme. Kama basically went down the path Muse did. Pretty much. Arguably more antagonistic, I would say, maybe. Muse at least never went out of his way to make a video misrepresenting the shit out of somebody that he used to be friends with. That's why I sort of feel more inclined to say that Cameron is worse than Muse in that regard. Because the thing is, him and Nate were friends since at least 2011, I want to say. You'd think that if he'd known Nate for that long and know what his video making process is like, he'd know better than to assume that, oh, he only cares about views, he only cares about likes, he doesn't care about the issues at hand, because if you really knew the guy, you'd know that he spends a lot of time researching for, stuff. I mean, even recently, the last time I talked with Nate, he had mentioned he was, keeping a bunch of different, files and records for things he researches and whatnot. And it's if you were really friends with the guy, you'd know this about him and know better than to say something like that about somebody that you used to be friendly with and whatnot. But I guess not. And, he's known him longer than me, and yet I think I know him better. I also saw Damien Skyfire's video on UTF, and honestly, UTF should be seen as an example of why when you are someone going through a lot, you should be open to ask for help. That is true, too. Lots of old-school ranting community people. I don't like how this is kind of a pattern. UTF has built this freakishly unhealthy habit of making horrible judgment calls that he, in a later inevitable point, would regret and even admit that was done out of an impressive impulse. He sold his drums, then regret it. He deleted his videos and channel, then regret it. And your thoughts on Rap Critic? To me, he just drank so much Radfem Kool-Aid, he became a diabetic and became a stubborn loony. That's the main problem I have with him. I think his content can be enjoyable when he tries to, put effort into being funny, because he can make some really good jokes in his videos. But that's one of my only real issues with Rap Critic, is when he gets a little out there on the political stuff. Like recently, in his worst songs video, he spent multiple straight minutes on fucking Tom MacDonald, and this is coming from somebody who doesn't disagree that Tom MacDonald is someone that just always makes himself out to be an oppressed baby and whatnot. But it's it got to a point when I was watching that segment of the video when it's like, is this all this is going to be? Just ranting about conservatives? But when he puts effort into his jokes, I think he can be on point. Depressive impulse. And let's just say he derogated a couple of well-acclaimed ranters, then regretted it, shocker, only to then actively believe his own false narrative on someone that never did shit to him. Yeah. He's made enemies with a lot of people, and that's pretty much all his doing. Da, 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 da. Wow. One YouTuber I admire is Animat, as he once was a cartoon reviewer that became stubborn and egotistical, like Muse, until he realized what he did was wrong and became a better man than Muse and UTF. That's interesting. Somebody can actually sort of go through that kind of path and whatnot and kind of redeem themselves. That would be nice to see. And if you remember the Muse video, I had hopes that Muse would kind of do that himself and whatnot. But it's hard to say at this point. And Space Metal, please just cool it with those. Animat still reviews animation, but is now more reasonable and open to fans and critics, and thus deserves getting more subs. Good on him. Do you remember Amos Yee, who went from prey to predator due to how horribly... Yeah. I mean, again, if you've seen the moments in videos where I throw up, like, the wall of shame, where Amos Yee is on there, yeah. I've never heard the end of Amos Yee. It was so weird. The first time I heard about him was through a video from Logic that was basically talking about how he was being deported from his country due to making videos like humping the Bible or something, or humping the Quran or something. And then you see him, advocate for pedophilia and all that. And it's like, what the fuck? Everyone supported you and wanted to get you out of a country that was persecuting you, and now you're going to do this? Fuck off. I lost all respect for Animat after he called Trump and his supporters, which includes me, the worst things ever since 9/11. That's really extreme. He apologized after the backlash from viewers, but took back the apology after January 6th. I honestly hope Amos Yee gets enough prison time to become an inmate's girlfriend. Same. I hope Amos's anus becomes prolapsed. Who's another YouTuber that deserves prison aside from Onision and Amos? I would say any of the people that Kaz has gone after. They're not as big of names as Amos Yee and Onision. But there are definitely a fair few people that I would say are up there with the two of them, maybe even worse. Because one of these people was basically catfished into admitting that he molested his sister. And he's the person who, in that Wall of Shame graphic, he has his head photoshopped onto Kermit the Frog because his voice kind of sounds like him. Michael Mattis is the guy's name. And he is responsible for Damien's second channel getting terminated because he's another person that just cannot handle him getting consequences from shit that he starts and whatnot, and needs to fucking bury evidence, all of it under the rug. So yeah, he's somebody that I definitely think deserves prison time. Yep, MDA, that would be another one. Maybe not, he might not be as severe, but that's just another example of somebody that used to be very prominent in a community, falling from grace and pretty much tarnishing his entire image. I was subbed to Animat for a while too. He may make great animation review videos, but the few political statements I've heard from him have totally turned me away from him. Yeah, I can see that. It's always a weird feeling when someone makes really enjoyable content, but when they get political, it's always kind of iffy. Yep, Razareth, there's another one. Do not get me started on that fat fuck. Did you also hear how the graphic novel Moz got put in the banned books list in a school district in Tennessee? I have heard about that. I haven't heard much about it, but I know that that's a thing that happened. I also heard that more people bought a bunch of Moz books sort of in response to that, which, again, is an example of people not understanding the Streisand effect. It's honestly pretty stupid what that school district did, and I think banning books does more harm than good. Yeah, it's a lot like what I talked about in the Aged Poorly is Anti-Art video about all the schools that ban To Kill a Mockingbird. Is it basically prevents kids from learning about a story that I think teaches a good moral, all because of some somewhat racy aspects of it. And it's like, I think if you're willing to look past that, then you'll see that there's not really anything inherently wrong with the story and whatnot. And I don't really know anything about Moz other than, I think it's German, I think. And I think it's going to have like a similar effect where once it gets banned somewhere, people are going to feel more inclined to be able to get it so that they can preserve it before it gets banned in more places and all that. And Chelsea, you missed when I was showing everybody the Foo Fighters shirt that you sent me. I'm surprised you didn't use the Mr. Lancer clip in your allusion to Kill a Mockingbird. Oh man, that totally slipped my mind. Not to mention, did you hear when Tucker Carlson went nuts over the character redesign of the M&Ms? Like, why is he angry over that instead of the child labor the company is doing? That's another thing I am aware happened. I'm not really sure what the whole story is about the M&Ms and whatnot, but it's like, the most I really feel about that is to quote Patrick, "Take it easy, it's just a drawing." It's a lot like how I felt when everyone was freaking out about Lola Bunny not having tits in the new Space Jam movie, and it's like, guys, why are you getting this worked up over a cartoon character? Moz is basically a graphic novel about the Holocaust with the Jews as mice and Nazis as cats. Ah, that's right. I do know it involves mice and whatnot. My grandfather on my mom's side did gift me a Moz book that I never read, but that's how I know about it. To Kill a Mockingbird, Mr. Lancer from Kindred Spirits. That's an episode of Danny Phantom that I'm not the most memorable I don't have the best memory of. I was seeing Jackass Forever. It was worth seeing. Here's a band you probably don't know of, Forsaken. They are a heavy metal band from NYC that formed in 2002. I found them years ago through the band's guitarist, Billy Garcia, who was a contestant on Survivor Cook Islands. And Candace Owens went crazy over Minnie Mouse's pantsuit for Disneyland Paris and even called it destroying the fabric of society. See, it's these kinds of overreactions and sensationalizing that really just makes it hard for me to take these kinds of people seriously. It's basically conspiracy baiting in my eyes. And it doesn't shock me because it's Candace Owens. She's kind of known for doing that, so. Oh, it was in Disneyland Paris. I forgot to mention in there. Okay. I'm debating on if it feels hot in here or not. Because, like, before I went to bed last night, Space Metal was messaging me telling me he was feeling kind of feverish, and that got me a little worried, especially because, like, my legs were feeling warmer than usual, but I had no fever. And so, just being a bit cautious there. I think along with Ann Coulter, Candace Owens doesn't even believe in what she says and just says those things to make money off of idiots. Basically a grifter. I guess it's basically knowing how to clickbait, how to sensationalize, because that is what gets you attention in today's media. Give their song Never Back Down a listen. It's pretty damn cool. I don't know why the Minnie Mouse thing is relevant. It's because we were talking about people freaking out over silly shit. Political pundits freaking out over things that really don't deserve this kind of a reaction. If it isn't showing shades, if it isn't snowing, shades crack open a window. I mean, the windows here in this room are kind of covered, so. But yeah, we've been having some pretty freezing weather here recently. The other day, like, my car was basically frozen. Like, the doors were frozen shut. There was, like, frozen water drippings along the car. All the windows were iced. It was really insane. I had to skip going to the gym because of just how iced it was. And it was raining today, and any remaining ice that was there is basically gone now. But still, I think there was like some freezing rain and just 20s and below weather over here. This is like kind of nuts. I remember how you said how your art teacher was a wicked witch, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised she got fired. Um, uh, I don't recall calling this art teacher a wicked witch. I think I know what you're referring to. Um, the art teacher that had the fucking, yacker tracker traffic light that fucking went off every time someone made a sound and whatnot, and everybody really hated her. Um, what was the way you mentioned to recommend new bands to people effectively again? Referring to your video a few years back. The main thing from that, I would say, is try to make a comparison to a band that the person might be familiar with, because chances are, if they like that, then they'll have more of an incentive to check this band out, since you're giving them an idea of what they sound like. True, it's not worth the reaction. Kind of stopped watching the news, focused on painting adult coloring books and on YouTube. You talk about the cola he did with the Random Gangsta. No, he's referring to the how to recommend bands to people video I made in 2018. To you, when it comes to mean teachers, what are some things about them that should get them fired? The things that I would think would be like the deciding factors that would lead to them potentially being fired would probably be anything related to anything that could be considered like emotional or verbal abuse and whatnot. Like if they're driving a kid to having a panic attack or something, or anything that sort of verges on extreme that comes as a result of the teacher's attitude and whatnot. I could see that being something that would for sure get a teacher fired. That's funny, your car froze. Didn't want you to go to the gym, lols. But painting is fun AF. In fact, hold on, I'm just now remembering something. There we go. Remember when Microsoft came out with their failed iPod imitation called the Zune? I do remember that existing. Is anyone aware of recent comments made by Damon Albarn about Taylor Swift claiming she wasn't a songwriter? I did hear about that, and the most I can really say about that is I think it can basically just be summed up as Damon Albarn just not being a fan of her music, which that's fine. It really shouldn't be a problem if someone isn't a fan of someone else, if it's just not their thing and whatnot. And Taylor Swift very clearly is not Damon Albarn's thing. He's just not really an artist he's into. So I just sort of felt that that was a bit hammed up based on that alone. And I remember leaving a comment sort of saying something along those lines on the video that ARTV made about that. And I pissed off some Taylor Swift fans. And it's like, I still got it. Like, was Damon Albarn in the wrong for what he said? Yeah. But is he allowed to his opinion? Yes. And so I think it should be just left at that. For what I heard of their music, Forsaken Sound takes influence from mostly a number of newer British bands like Iron Maiden, Saxon, and Diamond Head. So sort of like what White Wizard do. It wouldn't be shocking if Taylor didn't write her own songs. She does actually write her own music. She does have other co-writers and whatnot, but she is involved in the songwriting process, so that's what Damon Albarn was incorrect about. I just don't think that he really deserves to be ganged up on just for having a, dissenting opinion. And hello, Modified Productions. Thoughts on NFTs? To me, they're trash. My thing with NFTs are, I mostly kind of treat NFTs as kind of a meme, but what I generally think of them is I see them as being well-intentioned because they're trying to add value. They're trying to have value and exclusivity and uniqueness be attributed to to these digital files in the current age as sort of a way to make art valuable again in the era where not a lot of people are really buying physical medium and whatnot. It's sort of their way of trying to combat the accessibility of this kind of stuff. So I do see them as well-intentioned, but I just don't think that they're really going to catch on at all. Because, it's so easy nowadays to use the internet to find, MP3 files, video files, image files, and whatnot. They're really accessible, and while I do think there's good intentions behind NFTs, I just don't think it's really thought through enough. Because there's a lot of pitfalls for them that just weren't really ironed out. And that's why they're kind of a meme. The only NFT I need is nice fucking tits. I remember how Tara Strong got backlash for being involved with an animated film funded by NFTs and dismissed her critics as bullies. Okay. I mean, maybe some of the critics were being a little unreasonable, maybe. But Still, I don't think it's really wise to just brush everybody off as just being bullies and whatnot, because that's kind of dishonest. Um, but this is why I don't really get entirely mad at someone being involved with NFTs. Like, I do think it's kind of weird that Serge Tankian is involved with it, but hey. Aw, a cat stepped on your computer. No, you really meant to type M and a bunch of commas, and I'm just supposed to come up with some. I'm supposed to come up with what that might mean. It's basically you saying, "Muck," and then it's just a bunch of expletives being bleeped out. What I also found crazy was how Jim Henson started doing NFTs when their namesake founder was a staunch environmentalist. Isn't Jim Henson dead, or am I thinking of someone else? I honestly don't see the value of an NFT, TBH. I think the idea of trying to make art monetarily valuable is great, but I don't really see the value of owning a JPEG of a crappy Flash drawing. Yeah, that's the thing. Like I said, I think I think the heart's in the right place, but it just really just wasn't thought through. And your kitten does the same thing. And now she's just rubbing her face on the screen. Yeah, your cat doesn't want you paying any attention to me. I'm not even familiar with NFTs. It's basically trying to be the digital equivalent of owning a rare item like an autograph or a mint condition figure or record or anything like that. That's basically what NFTs are supposed to be. My thoughts on cryptocurrency overall, I don't really know anything about cryptocurrency and whatnot, but that's basically my best understanding of NFTs. Like, is there a purpose to owning it? What else could be offered? Might as well acquire the original piece of work. Yeah, like, I get it's supposed to be sort of trying to adapt to the internet age and all that. And, like, maybe some people might think it's cool, like, oh, I have the original file, not some stupid copy or something that was downloaded somewhere. Um, but yeah, in the grand scheme of things, I don't really know if it's really worth it. I don't think it's really all that worth it, but maybe I'll end up being wrong and there will be a lot of value in these things and whatnot. I don't really know, but right now I'm kind of trying to not call it a scam, but it's kind of veering into that territory. Hence why I made a meme where I show a picture of Ed, Edd and Eddy saying the original NFT bros. Because if Ed, Edd and Eddy were around today, they would be selling NFTs. What would you say is the scariest PSA you saw on TV? I don't think I've ever seen one on TV. Amon Tobin also put up a few songs from his latest album as NFTs. Steve Vai, when he announced this what the fuck guitar, there's something related to NFTs going along with that. But that fucking guitar that has, like, everything on it, like, go look it up. Actually, I can just do that. Let me create a new tab, go to images, and then switch this over to web page, except I gotta fucking go to this, click OK. There we go. Steve Vai new guitar. This thing. Half fretless, half fretted, and more weird bullshit down here. It's like, how does one play this thing? Sounds like a thing that would be cooler to have. It's kind of like how I felt when both Jared Dines and Stevie T both got those, like, billion string gent machines. It's like, these are things that aren't really meant to be played, but more so just cool to look at and have around. That's basically how I feel about this right here. I can imagine there being a lot more value in owning the original mastered stems of a song sent on the special flash drive or some shit, lol. Yeah, I can see value in there. But I think calling them NFTs might be a thing that might put people off about it, since I think there's some kind of connotation with that. Since my iTunes library is lacking in albums from the year, what are some of your favorite albums from 2011? Let me go to my album ranking note over here, and I'll give you my top 10 that I have written down here from 2011. So, from 10 to 1, Forest's We, Rise Against's Endgame, Havoc's Time Is Up, State Champs Apparently I'm Nothing, Mute's Thunderblast, Adele's 21, Angel Vivaldi's Universal Language, Animals as Leaders Weightless, Foo Fighters' Wasting Light, and my favorite, Bayside's Killing Time. Heritage from Opeth. I imagine if Kid Rock and Ted Nugent did NFTs, it'd be hilarious. Them doing anything together would be hilarious. Yeah, that triple neck guitar. I heard his latest album the other night while at work, too. It was pretty solid, though. I can't say I have a huge frame of reference with his other work. Yeah, that's kind of the thing with instrumental guitar albums. They're really good listens, but you need to be, like, really, really familiar with their work if you're able to make some differentiations and whatnot. Steve Vai kind of falls into that trap and whatnot. It looks cool as fuck, though. Playing it has to be a nightmare. Exactly. Like, that's why I have a feeling he'd probably take it out once live, like what Michelangelo Batio did with his V-shaped double neck. I never saw it before until early this week, but if you've seen it, how do you react to The Dawn Is Your Enemy upon seeing it? Sign-off screen for Adult Swim from 2005 to 2010. Don't know. Burning Fortune, Cauldron. To me, NFTs are honestly a fad, like silly bands, and I believe that they'll eventually fade away in a couple of years. Yeah. Delta by Visions of Atlantis. Ooh, Steel by Battle Beast. Yes. With the title track that I now associate with you. Like, every time I think of you, I always have that song in my head. Change the world with metal. Plus, the art used for the NFTs are just fugly. Yeah, those weird monkeys. It's like, I guess I get that art is subjective and whatnot, but like I'm not sure what kind of person would really take much interest in pictures of monkeys. Day of Reckoning, Destruction, and Death and Legacy from Serenity. Then again, if you could make the right adjustments based on your shoulder stature, you could have each neck at different tunings. I could see it being somewhat useful with live performances. Like, a band I got into sort of because of this kind of concept, the band Consider the Source. They're a instrumental prog fusion band that I got into through seeing a video on Facebook of the two of the members are playing double neck guitars where one neck is a guitar and the other is a bass, and I'm like, as somebody that does play guitar and bass, I'd be like, that would be really cool to have. Cool, the only full albums I currently have from 2011 are Megadeth 13 and Machine Head's Onto the Locust. Onto the Locust is a very good album from Machine Head. I should cook mac and cheese, chicken nuggets in the air fryer, but it looks like it would be strange as fuck to make the shifts between fretboards. Yeah, especially with, going from fretted to fretless and whatnot. Like, Bumblefoot is another person. He has a double neck guitar where one neck is fretted and the other is fretless. And it's like, that would be an interesting to see how the transition would feel between those two textures. I know you don't like Britney Spears, but thoughts on her conservatorship? To me, she didn't deserve being a prisoner. I was not really following that situation because I just really don't care about Britney Spears at all. So, I regret saying music is dead in regards to Rebecca Black in 2011. While not knowing a damn thing about Battle Beast's existence, horribly regret it. It would take a shit ton more than fucking Rebecca Black to really warrant saying something that erroneous. Like, yeah, Friday is cheesy and stupid and all that, but, like, it's just a stupid song. That's all I really treat it as. A stupid song with a stupid video. Next dream concert. Europe! Europe! Opened by Def Leppard and Y&T. I don't think Def Leppard would not open for Europe. I can see the other way around happening, but yeah. But Def Leppard, Y&T, and Europe all on the bill. That would be really cool, actually. I'm glad she's free from the family, but she's never going to fully escape from the media and paparazzi. Yep, and that's why that South Park episode really holds up a lot better than I thought it would. Because I always just saw that episode as just a silly episode poking fun at Britney Spears and all that, but it's kind of weird how prevalent that episode kind of is to this day. I think it's great that she has freedom from her crazy dad. Now she can be intended. But her sister Jamie Lynn Spears is riding up under rumors on her newer book. It's ridiculous. Then Britney called Jamie out. I guess that can be chalked up to, sibling rivalry, jealousy, and whatnot, because obviously one has had a much bigger career than the other. Friday was the catalyst. BOTDF was always my all-time least favorite. Yeah, just really dumb early 2010s bullshit. Independent, oof. Oh, okay. God, now I have steel in my head again now. Do you remember the music video for Right Now by Van Halen and how Sammy Hagar didn't lip sync for the video as he hated doing the shoot, as he hated the video's concept? No, I haven't heard about that, but that's actually pretty interesting. I'm personally not really into the Sammy Hagar era of Van Halen, but it's actually pretty neat how he wanted to be authentic for the video. Would you consider the song 17 sketchy? I have a feeling a lot of people would. I love the song musically, but I can see a lot of people kind of being like, about that song. Like, funny you mentioned that, because in my Facebook memories today, I saw the post that I made when I saw Winger in 2019. The post says, "Off to Winger. Here's to hoping when they play their best known song, if they play it, it won't feel too weird." I heard Rebecca Black got heavily bullied for that song. Oh, yeah. Like, the entire internet was just going nuts over the fucking thing. Or thought her life was hell from it because of the massive backlash. Indeed. I wish I knew about Battle Beast when I was 14 so I wouldn't be such a Stan Marsh from You're Getting Old. One song can destroy you or make you legendary. Maybe not, because from what I've been hearing, Rebecca Black kind of went on a bit of a rebound ever since then and has been, doing all right for herself with her content and whatnot. And I guess that's good for her. Although it was exclusively released in Finland back in 2011, worldwide for January 2012. To make things worse for Hagar, during the shoot, he was very sick and had a fever, and made his anger even stronger, and in the video, he slammed the door of his makeup room in genuine anger. That and the bullying eventually caused Rebecca to drop out of school. Yeah. And I'm now thinking about the Jessie Slaughter incident that was kind of around the same time, where she dealt with a similar kind of bullying, kind of backlash from that whole thing. The Dawn in Your Enemy was actually intended to scare children that stayed up too late at night, hence why it used to appear really early in the morning. It was a pencil sketch drawing of human eyes gazing over a field with a sun with a face in the distance looking at the viewer. That accompanied with an eerie, ominous instrumentation in the back. People have creepypasta'd the shit out of it. Ever tried pad thai? No. Remember how Axl Rose went from attractive bad boy to an ugly uncle as he got older? Yeah, he's very, very out of shape. And he can't sing as well. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I have no interest in seeing Guns N' Roses these days, is largely just because of how out of it he's kind of become. Originally, it was just because he was the only original member, but even after he and Slash patched things up, that's always been the thing that's been leaving me feeling like, I don't even know if it's worth it. Because I mentioned earlier in the stream how the next concert I am going to be going to is Slash solo in March, so... What is one classic rock star you think has aged very well? John Bon Jovi. Glad I saw him to finally check it off my bucket list. Yeah, good on you. Hopefully Axl wasn't too bad when you saw them. I'd say the plastic surgery definitely played a role in his current appearance. Sorry to type this, Axl. Please lose some weight and fix your vocals. Yeah. Axl Rose doesn't seem too off-key to me. Okay. I imagine Axl having grandkids that look like his younger self, long hair and all, and Axl just having the poor kid out of jealousy. Or hating, I think you might have meant to say. You think someone would just do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies? Yep. To me, one rock star I believe is one cool grandpa's, of course, Steven Tyler. Yeah, I would say he's up there. He's definitely retained a lot of his vocal abilities, you know, judging from when I saw Aerosmith back in 2012. Yeah, there's some points where Axl still does well in terms of vocals. He sounded good to me when I saw GNR in 2016. Lars's drumming sucks less than Axl Rose's vocal consistency. Yeah, like, that was one thing I remember trying to pay attention for when I saw Metallica live, was if Lars's drumming was really as bad as people like saying it is. And the worst I remember about his drumming was it kind of felt like in Fade to Black he was kind of speeding up a bit, and how in For Whom the Bell Tolls he was like playing a drum fill every other bar. That was like the worst I could say about his drumming live. Stop right now or you're fired. What is your favorite song from Lenny Kravitz? To me, American Woman. I actually prefer his version of American Woman to the original. I've never really liked the original. In It Over Till It's Over, Fly Away, and Again. Those are all great as well. Fly Away is really nice to just relax to, and Again has a really great solo. My favorite song from Lenny Kravitz is not one that I think most people would recognize. It's from his album Baptism. It's the first track on the album, Minister of Rock and Roll. I would say that would be my favorite. I'm a minister of rock and roll. Oh, God. No! From the Bell Tolls and Fade to Black, he went on a bit too many fills. Yep. Shades, the spammers are on to us again. This was a problem that I noticed when Skull Ripper had his stream with Nate last week. Or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, actually. There were a lot of these spam bots in his chat as well. And he made me a moderator so that I could deal with them. I want to get away. I wanna fly away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just feels so good singing that. I call this one Bold and Brash. Yep. Because they belong in the trash. His daughter Zoe is also a great actress, and I imagine her as a Russian Disney princess if they're interested in making a Russian Disney film. Iggy Pop looks okay. Another person that I think has done a good job maintaining his image. And it's funny because I was actually listening to a song from this band earlier today because it was in my head. Bret Michaels. I think he's done a good job maintaining his, appearance. Rick Springfield is damn sexy for his age. Are there any slow and mysterious sounding guitar bass sections of songs that stick out to you? I don't know. But my favorite bass line has always been from Mud Shovel by Stained. Examples of mine: Danzig's opening and end of How the Gods Kill, bass in the middle of Rime of the Ancient Mariner, Cliff Burton's bass section in Orion and Nirvana's Something Away. I keep getting Lenny Kravitz cologne ads and now I could care less. Lane and I had the same idea for Metallica. But if Disney will make a Russian movie with Zoe Kravitz, they should at least have her dad contribute to the soundtrack. I bring up Russia as Lenny is half Russian. I know he's half Jewish. That's a thing. Do, 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 do. So what did you miss? I basically sort of revamped the shirt collection series into a live discussion thing. I talked about all the shows that I've been to since concerts came back. We talked a little about the Joe Rogan thing. Talked a good bit about NFTs. And talked about Cammy Bams for a little bit as well. I basically read a little essay I wrote about him in Take Shot server when someone asked about him. And then from there just talked about what happens when people go down these political rabbit holes. Those are like the main topics I remember from throughout the stream. If Lane was still alive, I'd be in love with him. What a handsome man. We're talking about he's talking about a different Lane. Lane is Hair Metal Brony's name. I remember Dark Angel the Light. I remember how people liked her, and then she also disappeared. Yeah, that's Blue Magus' ex-girlfriend, who's another person that ended up kind of going down a crazy route. I don't want to go into detail about this because I just don't really think it's my story to tell and whatnot, and because I didn't really know her all that well and whatnot. But she said some very, 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 very slanderous things about the man that were very untrue. And, yeah, she's kind of went into that sort of loony space and whatnot. That's the most I know about that and what's become of her. He was a handsome musician back in the day. I gifted Shay's Foo Fighters shirt. Yep. Lane Staley. I know you meant Lane Staley, but Space Metal is not talking about that Lane. Parts of songs like those I mentioned make great tunes for when you're driving slowly on completely dark roads during the night. Planet Caravan is a good song for that. See, the question is one of the chicken or the egg. Does Twitter attract crazy people or does Twitter make people crazy? That's a good question. I never liked Dark Angel the Light as she was obnoxious due to her incessant yelling and condescending attitude. That's the impression I got from her as well, from everything that I've heard about her. I remember Danny's ex. I don't want to judge or be involved, but still keep her on my friends list. I getcha. Yes, that one too. Thanks. I remember you recommended that for my Chernobyl vlog too. Pantera covered it. Indeed, they did. BTW, did you see Kane Pixel's recent Backrooms found footage video before? It was one of the creepiest things I watched in years upon first viewing it. No. Cool, now I have that Lenny Kravitz song I mentioned earlier in my head. That's nice. What's your opinion on Warner Music Group today? Do you think they're still the same copyright abusing company people hate them for, or are they better? I guess they've lightened up a little bit, but I still remember I still remember a few years ago when, back in the days of Article 13, when there was just this whole mass slew of videos getting blocked. And I think most of it was because of Warner. But from my experience, I don't tend to have as much trouble with Warner as I do with Universal, I would say, is my least favorite of the big three major labels in terms of which ones are the most annoying to deal with getting copyright claims from. I know some music is reported on YouTube by them. I mean, it's the way the copyright system works is that it's an automatic detection, an automatic detection that the major labels have in store. Like when the way I go about it, whenever I upload a video, I do a test a test upload on one of my sock accounts. Just to see if anything gets copyright claimed or if anything's getting the video blocked. And those are private, and the reason I know it's not filed by a person is because the video isn't even public, so it has to be an automatic detection going on. And it's always from those three major labels, either Sony, Warner, or Universal. And the ones I usually deal with the most, I feel like it goes to Universal these days. And Viacom, I know, has also had a history of, you know, these copyright things and whatnot. Because, of course, I'll always remember my Hey Arnold video getting blocked worldwide, everywhere but Canada, thanks to Viacom. To me, I always thought Warner was more draconian, and I feel wrong listening to their music way more than Universal and Sony. Speaking of which, my monetization is operational again. Congratulations. Mine isn't, and I have no idea how to fix it. I know Warner was like the most anal in the past, for sure. And they can still be very similar to that these days. just go to monetization tab on your studio and hit the apply button. Let's try doing that. YouTube Studio. Monetization. Yeah, because here's what it looks like. Let me go back to the web page tab here. This is what it shows. Step 1 done. Review partner program terms. And then this is where I'm having trouble setting up AdSense. Your associated AdSense account was disapproved. This may be due to an existing account. Your recent email from AdSense has more details. I wonder what change association would do. That may be the solution here, but I'm not going to do that on stream. But then step 3 is done, get reviewed. So, yeah, that's basically the problems I'm having with that. Stop being slow. Sounds really stupid. Completely copyright strike free now. The copyright system being a large reason why I don't upload many videos anymore. Inserting great songs into my videos, particularly my old vacation vlogs, was one of the primary parts of the videos. Have you tried making one for Google AdSense and hooking it up? No, I've never been sure what to do about that. I got both my Instagram back and monetization back the exact same day. Damn. Hashtag winning. Yeah, the spam bot accounts remind me way too much of back when like every like small channel on YouTube was dealing with accounts that were saying wanna be friends. And it's like, this isn't how you make friends. The wannabe friends drones were everywhere on my Guitar Hero videos. Did you hear Netflix will make a sitcom about Blockbuster? Talking about rubbing salt in the wounds. That sounds like an interesting setup for a sitcom, but it seems weird to do this in 2022. I remember getting creepy messages on Facebook that read, "Don't add this person, it was such a scam." Not really what we're talking about, but yeah. Speaking of which, I remember wanting to pass rooftops as fast as I could because I really did not want anything to do with that song, even given that he sang it. Yep, 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 yep. I know who you're referring to. It reminds me of how Netflix also has a documentary called The Last Blockbuster, and it was so much fun. Oh, FC it. That's right. I unfortunately have to get through it again on Lego Rock Band. Blockbuster documentary. I also remember there was a South Park episode that sort of poked fun at at a Blockbuster being kind of irrelevant. When there's that Halloween episode where Randy buys a Blockbuster, and then it just becomes a Shining parody. The song makes me want to shove thumbtacks up my rectum. Ever delved into the rabbit hole of lost media? Not really. Thumbtacks don't belong there. My least favorite songs, bands, and games are mandatory if I want to get an FGFC or FSFC. Yeah, he's basically trying to set a record. Seems like Disney or major corporations ripping off rock music. I don't know. It's just a game. I don't know. I don't think it's worth getting that upset over. When I was around, did you have good memories of Blockbuster? I am not sure. Never really went there often. Yeah, I guess you could consider Lego Rock Band to be a cash grab. I mostly just see it as, I guess, basic business, I guess. If you've seen it before, what did you think of Treasure Planet? Very underrated movie. Very, very, very underrated movie. It's not really a favorite of mine, but I do see it as very underrated, very interesting, and having a very interesting relationship between the hero and the villain. The relationship between Jim and Silver, I always thought was really dynamic and unique and interesting, and not really something you see a lot in Disney movies. So there's one thing awesome about Lego Rock Band. Shades, want to guess what band made it? Who? Who made it in there? Heard of the controversial Warner Bros. Cartoons collectively known as the Censored 11? I don't think I know it, but I'm pretty sure I know what you might be thinking of. Speaking of scams, have you heard of the type of scam where you comment on a Facebook post, you are promised a blessing of thousands of dollars? Oh, that's fucking comment farming to its core. Hint, Metal Mayhem. Oh, Europe is in the game. I remember renting a copy of Toy Story 3 from Blockbuster shortly after it came out. That must have been when Blockbuster was on the decline, because that was 2010. They're basically 11 Warner Brother cartoons that featured outdated and racist depictions of black people. Oh, okay. Europe! Sorry, I forgot to put quotations between the word blessings, comment farming. So that's what it's called. That's basically what it's called when you see a post that's basically, asking you to comment. I know a popular thing on Facebook these days is saying, name a band that blew your mind when you first listened to them. Tag a band that more people should listen to, like that kind of stuff. Alice in Chains has a new song, you say? I've never decided whether I do or don't want to give the William Duvall albums a listen, because I hear very mixed things about them. The last Blockbuster is in Oregon. Did you know that during their sequel madness, Disney was going to make a Dumbo 2 in 2001, but later it got scrapped? What would you even do with that? And I can imagine it not really blowing over, because I see Dumbo as one of those films that Disney nowadays is basically like, yeah, the crows, yeah. Like that kind of thing. Song name, A Soul Reborn. How about no, Dr. Evil? So it's about shoes. Iffy about William Duvall. Quote name, how about no? I walked in on an interesting time. Why is it saying something went wrong? And of course, Disney Plus is loaded with those reviled sequels, and the studio that made them, Disney Toon, later shut down a few years ago. Oh. Wait, what? We good now? It says live. The last sequel they released was for The Little Mermaid in 2008. Don't why not me? Yeah, I'm actually thinking, since we've been going for 3 hours, I think I am thinking of cutting over here. A lot of good talks over here, and appreciate y'all chillin'. But it's getting about time for me to get started on making dinner, and I am thinking of getting to that. So, thank ya for chillin'. I'm Shades, and I will see you next time.